Summary of Thus Spake Zarathustra, a book for all and none by Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche. Overview. Thus Spake Zarathustra is a philosophical novel written by Friedrich Nietzsche, first published in 1883. The book is a complex and provocative work that defies easy categorization. It is a philosophical treatise, a literary masterpiece, and a deeply personal reflection on the human condition. Structure. The book is divided into 4 parts, each representing a distinct phase in the life of the protagonist, Zarathustra. The narrative is presented in a series of sermons, speeches, and conversations, often taking the form of a prophetic or poetic monologue. Part 1, Zarathustra's Prologue and Initial Teachings. The book begins with Zarathustra, a wise and enigmatic figure, descending from his mountain solitude to proclaim his teachings to the world. He preaches about the Übermensch, or Superman, a being who has transcended conventional morality and achieved a state of self-overcoming. Zarathustra argues that traditional morality is based on a false premise, and that humanity must create its own values and meaning in life. Part 2, The Disciples and the 3 Metamorphoses. In this section, Zarathustra gains a following of disciples, to whom he imparts his teachings. He introduces the concept of the 3 Metamorphoses, which describe the transformation of the human spirit: the camel, burden-bearing; the lion, rebellion; and the child, innocence and creativity. Zarathustra also introduces the idea of the eternal recurrence, which posits that all events in existence will recur infinitely, and that individuals must live their lives in accordance with this principle. Part 3, The Sojourn with the Higher Men. Zarathustra encounters a group of higher men, individuals who have achieved a level of spiritual and intellectual sophistication. He engages in a series of conversations and debates with them, exploring topics such as the nature of morality, the role of art, and the relationship between the individual and society. This section is notable for its critiques of traditional philosophy, religion, and politics. Part 4, The Sign and the Farewell. In the final part of the book, Zarathustra returns to his mountain solitude, reflecting on his experiences and the responses to his teachings. He encounters a group of ass riders, who mock and misunderstand his message. The book concludes with Zarathustra's farewell to his disciples and his departure into the unknown, leaving behind a legacy of provocative ideas and challenges to conventional thought. Major themes and concepts. The Übermensch, Superman, Zarathustra's central concept. The Übermensch represents a being who has transcended conventional morality and achieved a state of self-overcoming. The eternal recurrence, the idea that all events in existence will recur infinitely, and that individuals must live their lives in accordance with this principle. The death of God, Nietzsche's famous declaration that God is dead is a central theme in the book, highlighting the need for humanity to create its own values and meaning. The will to power, the fundamental drive behind all living beings, which Zarathustra sees as the source of creativity, self-overcoming, and the creation of values. The critique of traditional morality, Zarathustra challenges traditional morality, arguing that it is based on a false premise and that individuals must create their own values and meaning. Influence and legacy. Thus Spake Zarathustra has had a profound influence on modern thought, inspiring philosophers, writers, and artists across the globe. The book's ideas have influenced existentialism, nihilism, and postmodernism, among other philosophical movements. Its literary style, blending poetry, prose, and prophecy, has inspired generations of writers and thinkers. In summary, Thus Spake Zarathustra is a complex, provocative, and deeply philosophical work that challenges readers to rethink their assumptions about morality, ethics, and the human condition. Its influence extends far beyond the philosophical community, shaping the course of modern thought and culture. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, Superman or Overman, challenges traditional notions of morality and human potential in several ways. Rejection of traditional morality. The Übermensch rejects traditional morality, which Nietzsche saw as rooted in a false premise. Instead of adhering to conventional moral codes, the Übermensch creates their own values and meaning, unencumbered by the constraints of traditional morality. Self-overcoming. The Übermensch represents a being who has transcended conventional moral boundaries, achieving a state of self-overcoming. This means that the Übermensch has overcome their own limitations, desires, and weaknesses, reaching a higher state of existence. Rejection of the herd mentality. Nietzsche's Übermensch rejects the notion of conforming to societal norms and expectations. Instead, the Übermensch forges their own path, unafraid to challenge conventions and create their own values. Embracing life's struggles. The Übermensch does not shy away from life's struggles and difficulties. Instead, they embrace these challenges as opportunities for growth, self-improvement, and self-overcoming. Creating one's own values. the Übermensch creates their own values, rather than adhering to traditional moral codes or societal expectations. This means that the Übermensch takes responsibility for their own life, choices, and values. Redefining human potential, the concept of the Übermensch implies that human potential is not fixed, but rather can be expanded and transcended. The Übermensch represents a being who is pushed beyond the boundaries of conventional human existence, achieving a higher level of existence. By challenging traditional notions of morality and human potential, Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch encourages individuals to take responsibility for their own lives, create their own values, and strive for self-overcoming and self-transcendence. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch is closely tied to his critique of traditional Christian morality. Here are some key ways in which the Übermensch concept relates to his critique of Christian morality. Rejection of Christian values. Nietzsche saw Christian morality as promoting a slave morality that emphasizes obedience, humility, and self-denial. The Übermensch, on the other hand, represents a master morality that celebrates individual strength, creativity, and self-overcoming. Critique of the herd mentality. Nietzsche argued that Christian morality encourages individuals to conform to a collective moral code, suppressing individual creativity and self-expression. The Übermensch, by contrast, embodies the idea of individual excellence and self-transcendence. Rejection of guilt and sin. Christian morality emphasizes sin, guilt, and redemption. Nietzsche saw this as a form of slave morality that stifles individual creativity and self-expression. The Übermensch, on the other hand, is unencumbered by feelings of guilt and sin, and instead celebrates life's joys and passions. Embracing life's passions. Christian morality often emphasizes self-denial and asceticism. The Übermensch, by contrast, embodies a passionate and affirmative approach to life, embracing life's joys and desires rather than suppressing them. Death of God. Nietzsche's famous declaration that God is dead is closely tied to his critique of Christian morality. The Übermensch represents a being who has moved beyond the need for a divine authority, taking responsibility for their own values and morality. Redefining moral values. Nietzsche argued that Christian morality is based on a false premise, emphasizing pity, compassion, and selflessness. The Übermensch, on the other hand, represents a being who creates their own values, unencumbered by traditional moral codes. In summary, Nietzsche's Übermensch concept is a direct challenge to traditional Christian morality, promoting individual excellence, self-transcendence, and a passionate affirmation of life, rather than conforming to a collective moral code or suppressing individual creativity and self-expression.